Welcome. My name is Armughan Ahmad. I want to talk to you about how we will all thrive in this exponentially changing economy. It's impacting how we work, how we live, how we play, or even how we shop. Our world is rapidly changing, and these changes will only accelerate over the next 20 years. I'm sure you've heard this line before, that data is becoming more valuable than oil, but now much, much faster. It's actually making it seem like that data is even more valuable than oil, water, or even oxygen. We allow companies to collect data on us to provide personalized experiences. For example, Google Maps tells us where we should go next. Facebook shapes our opinion and how our opinions are formed. Tinder tells us what relationships or who we should date. Netflix tells us what movies we should be watching next. And we share our data with Amazon so that we know exactly what we want to buy next. So technology is just the enabler. It's us humans who are the true transformers. So today, if you allow me, I want to show you how every part of our life is being transformed at an exponential rate. And tomorrow will look dramatically different from today. Time is being compressed. It's not about what's in front of us, it's about what's coming next. And technology is being embedded in everything we do. So for example, financial services is becoming fintech. Energy sector is becoming clean tech, or even real estate that's becoming prop tech. As you can see, we're living in this innovation economy, which is now 25% of our GDP, and is growing 3 to 6 times faster than any other segment of our GDP. And IDC is projecting that it will hit 50% of our global GDP by 2024. Let's take a look at how quickly our world is changing. The way we shop has changed, and how many of us have subscribed to food or razor or wine delivery on a monthly basis, or how we interact with our healthcare providers, or how we order groceries, how we order taxis, how we travel. So everything's changed significantly. Even financial services payments are changing to invisible banking. And our doctors and surgeons are providing patient care in a very different environment using artificial intelligence, AR, VR. And we're clearly living in a world that's very different. The pandemic has also fast-tracked some of these changes, driving digital adoption. The purple here, for example, represents that the number of first-time digital users, as you can see, has dramatically accelerated. First-time digital users in banking, or entertainment, or grocery, apparel, utilities. This has all just changed in the last 18 to 20 months of pandemic. Our pre-pandemic digital world was just a broken analog world. This is why companies are quickly digitizing and digitally transforming to offer these digital experiences. Our consumption of goods and services has also soared, causing shortages on cars or shampoo or even toilet paper. At KPMG, we've been thinking about all of these trends and painted a vision of how technology will impact our lives with our launch of what we're calling it our 20 predictions for the next 20 years. To paint this picture, we see 5 tectonic shifts that will shape our world in this time. Number 1 is shifting from scarcity to an abundance model. Number 2 is shifting from transactions to experiences. Number 3 is shifting from sustainability to regeneration of climate change. Number 4 is shifting from incremental innovation to actual disruptive innovation. And then number 5 is shifting from great resignation to the great retention, which some are calling the YOLO economy. I'll then end with the final section to show you how companies are making this shift and innovating to thrive. Technology is advancing at an exponential rate. At the same time, costs are falling exponentially. This is what's driving this adoption. And we're shifting from a scarcity to a world of abundance. Scarcity is fossil fuels or capital markets. It's food or resources that are controlled in a scarcity model, whereas abundance is about solar energy or online education or free knowledge provided on the internet. We're even now creating diamonds in labs to sell in jewelry stores so that you don't have to go to the blood diamonds in Africa. I believe that scarcity to abundance model is changing right in front of us, and we are rapidly approaching a world where nothing is scarce and everything at some degree can become abundant. So let me show you what this actually looks like. If you look at the cost of light, it has dropped to almost nothing. You flip a switch these days, not even thinking about it. We light up bridges, parliament buildings, government buildings, anywhere we can find a tower, a monument, we light it up with LED lights. The commoditization of technology is leading to plummeting costs of democratizing technology. This is happening across multiple technologies simultaneously. If you look at solar energy, it's dropping to almost nothing in cost. It used to cost $76 a watt, and now some solar farms provide that at 3 cents per wattage. Same thing applies if you look at the cost of genome sequencing. It used to be $10 million a few years ago, and it's now $100 offered by 23andMe. To demonstrate what scarcity looks like, look at vinyl records, for example, or cassettes, or compact discs. If you are old enough, like me, you have lived through several waves of disruption of the music industry. Streaming has now changed everything in the music industry. Scarcity is cassettes, CDs, 15 songs at a time, whereas abundance is Spotify or whatever music streaming service you use. And even the cost of EVs, the electric vehicles, have changed. If you look at the cost of batteries, for example, the most expensive part of electric vehicles are dropping exponentially. People are expecting that electric vehicles will equal in price to gas-powered vehicles by 2023, driving a wide-scale adoption. For example, Tesla in 2005 made their first sports car and sold it for $250,000. People thought Elon Musk was really out there. But fast forward to 2022, where now they're selling Model 3 Teslas for $30,000, which is way more efficient and even better looking than the sports car of that 2005. The entire world is upside down for us. We either can take a Mad Max or a Star Trek path. A Mad Max path in the movie is like a Wild Wild West, where Star Trek is a much more measured and an inclusive future for all of us. I'm an eternal optimist, and we have the tools, but we just need the social willpower to make this happen. 200 years ago, 94% of our humanity lived in extreme poverty, and we have all collectively brought it down to 9%. But society and government policy will have to evolve to keep up with this new economy. The next move taking place is a shift from transaction to experiences. And this is my favorite because our best experiences like Spotify, Netflix, Uber make us forget about the cost by making payments invisible. Do you even think about what you paid for your last Uber ride? Or how about your last coffee tap that you did at Starbucks? Do you really look at how much that coffee costs? Or do you calculate the average cost of the movies you watch on Netflix or the songs you listen to on Spotify? When an experience lives on an app, then buying is not just a transaction, it's a complete experience. We're experiencing life in different ways. When you take a look at different generational shifts, like my 70-year-old parents, who are baby boomers, they're the generation before me, are purchasing products on Amazon or Instacart on a regular basis. Or people who want different experiences and personalized experiences, for them, it's all changing. From Gen Xers, which is my generation, to then my children and who are millennials and Gen Zers, they all want experiences. And our best experiences anywhere become our expectations everywhere. I love that line because at KPMG, we conducted a research that showed that there are 1.8 billion millennials globally already. And there are 78% of these millennials want to spend on experiences over assets. But the boomer economy is now booming. So at 2.1 billion people aged over 60 by 2050, and 83% of those people willing to share their data or to personalize more and more of these experiences. Imagine that 7.5 billion people will own a smartphone by 2026. So the world is moving really fast, and we have to make sure that we're keeping up with it because it is a total change in dynamic. If you look at Alibaba, at a very large online retailer in China, they created an AI-enabled chatbot called Ali-Me. And Ali-Me provides a proactive approach on reaching out to help you shop. In China, there's something called Singles Day, where people buy themselves presents. I really like that idea. In one day, they were able to transact $39 billion of sales. That's one day. That's higher than Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined in North America. And those chatbots were able to handle 95% of the calls using chatbots as well as AI methodologies. And they created a digital twin solution, and they were able to use natural language processing, NLP, and artificial intelligence to serve that $39 billion in an augmented way through digital twinning and supply chain automation. But what if we ship consumer goods before they even had to ask? Think about that for a second. That is where retail will be. We are moving from anticipatory shipping to e-commerce, algorithmic commerce. These platforms learn from all these transactions from their customers. So companies are already doing it. So let's take Samsung and MasterCard, for example. They have partnered together to come up with these fridges that have automated and predictive purchasing. So a fridge scans the content of the fridge inside, looks for expiry dates, looks to see what kind of products you're running low on, and sends you those products, ships you those products. Or also, if you use carrots a lot and you have carrots and you have celery or you have other types of protein, for example, in your fridge, it will give you suggestions on what you should be making for dinner that night. Now let's think about Uber Eats for a second. Uber Eats has opened 7,000 new stores that operate as ghost kitchens around some major metropolitan areas in North America. And that is their response to the data that they collect and they have on their consumers in terms of their food and nutrition behavior and the gaps that they need to fill. They know exactly what they are looking for, like Mexican food or Korean fusion restaurant or a product that they could sell to their customers, and then they can provide them both in the same kitchen operating as different brands. So this is not just happening with Uber Eats, it's happening across the restaurants industry, and it's happening everywhere. We're seeing the disruption happening across every industry. In retail, services are increasingly personalized to the last mile with drone delivery, organizing your life, even delivering goods for you before you even press the button to buy. Leading retailers have customer data not to just market to them, but also optimize happiness and prosperity and your mental health by staying well. In healthcare, 30% of the world's data is being generated by the healthcare industry. That's a lot of healthcare data, as you can imagine, is being generated through wellness devices such as an Apple Watch that I'm wearing, or an Oura ring that I'm wearing that actually measures my sleep, or my levels patch that measures my glucose based on what type of food that I take. And we're about to have a wellness revolution on how we experience healthcare. Financial services is becoming invisible, popping up when and where we need them. Imagine an auto insurance that adjusts to your lifestyle on a minute-by-minute basis. Your up-to-the-minute rate will be decided whether you decide to turn self-driving function on or go manual when you drive the car. Or if you are driving autonomously, it's lower cost versus driving manually. Or depending on the route you're taking. Are you taking a riskier route or are you taking more of a safer route? And then even government is transforming. Imagine a time when you can access government services 24/7 at your fingertips for all your life events. The birth of a child, applying for a student loan, buying a new home, getting married, or retiring. Leading governments are creating personalized experiences for citizens and even reaching out to them proactively, like Finland does as a country, by using AI to suggest services citizens are eligible for each life event. So you think that was exciting? Wait until you see what's coming next, the metaverse. And what we have in store for you is just fascinating in the metaverse. We have moved from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. So let me explain. Web 1 was read-only, where business broadcasts information one way. So think AOL, very static, right? Web 2 was when we started interacting with each other, and that led to the birth of the social media and the big tech playing a big role. Think Google, think Meta/Facebook, where Web 2 had a lot of centralized data, whereas now Web 3 is becoming much more decentralized, democratizing the version of the web that we are now going to interact with, where we're going to have our own personal digital wallets. We'll have own personal NFT, the non-fungible tokens, where we get to own our art, or we get to own a product that we had. And think blockchain. So it will be Web3, which is another word for metaverse, will just be phenomenal. The metaverse is expected to grow exponentially into 2030, and it is in its infancy right now, but ready to take off. Just see what these big major corporations are going to do in making investments in virtual reality as well as gaming technologies. So in our metaverse, it will really be helping us with our social, our work, and our shopping. Imagine the possibilities. Metaverse is not only about gaming platforms like Roblox or Fortnite. We're seeing real estate companies, retailers already starting to develop mixed use reality for Metaverse, where they're recreating that touch point we all had with our office buildings or our retail or our colleagues pre-pandemic, where you're able to create your office experience in the Metaverse, where you can come in, attend a strategy session, then take a meditation session, then you're able to go and shop for your favorite toque or hat that you may enjoyed looking at in the metaverse. You can either get it physically ordered to you, or you're able to get it as an NFT, non-fungible token. We now use Microsoft Teams or Zoom or WebEx, for example, to communicate, but body language is 90% of all communications. And in the metaverse, we'll be able to mirror these actions with avatars. Here's an example of people working in the metaverse. You put on these glasses and you're all of a sudden in a universe where you're seeing the physical and the digital. Which is what I call phygital. And you're seeing your colleague of yours, and you're seeing data come to life right in front of you. You're having a coffee while you're working on a project. And in the project that you're working on, you think about a colleague, or you want to interact with a colleague. And she's sitting and wearing an AR, VR type glasses, and she's sitting in the middle of Central Park, where she can come in and have a very quick Zoom call with you in the metaverse, and then you feel like you're together. That sort of solves that 90% communication gap that I was talking about. Companies shouldn't overthink the opportunity, but just start with metaverse. You have to start somewhere, just starting as a digital twin or building a presence in Roblox or Meta or Fortnite. Of course, this is not all happening in a bubble. We are shifting from sustainability to regeneration, and many of these challenges are happening in the context of global climate change and social revolution. So imagine this for a second. The Earth is 4.6 billion years old. If we scaled it to 46 years from the 4.6 billion, us humans have been here for 4 hours, and our industrial revolution that we're living in began just 1 minute ago. And in that time, we have destroyed half of the world's forests. Just want you to pause and think about that for a second. So we're seeing this shift in the narrative where companies are moving from sustainability to regeneration, to build back better, where sustainability seeks to reduce the ecological footprint, and regeneration boldly seeks to increase the socio-ecological handprint to restore the health of individuals, communities, and our beloved planet. Our current global net zero targets are not high enough to stop the planet from warming. We are recognizing more and more that in order to achieve this, we need innovative solutions. And there are many startups globally I've seen that give me hope in this space. We need to collectively think about bringing together the whole ecosystem of not only just startups, but large businesses, governments, and even academic and research institutions to make this happen. ESG is making us think about risk in different ways. Risks are also increasing because of increasing complexity of technology and digital transformation in this space. And we're moving to models like risk as a service, where we are hiring ethicists that are going to provide ethics as a service for us to enable artificial intelligence. We also need to start thinking about privacy, where privacy regulations like GDPR in Europe are going to be important, and we are also going to see an increasing cyber incursions that are coming in forms of ransomware as a service. And we're going to see deepfake technology that is used by AI as big areas of concerns. We are also going to see hackers go into space with SpaceX type technologies, or also autonomous vehicles getting hacked. So AI as a solution is also going to be important. As I said earlier, data is fast becoming more important than oil, and the amount of data exploding, where you have 5G, Internet of Things, are creating so much data that we have not seen. We have to lead by not only privacy by design, but also opt-in privacy, which is also going to be super important. One way we can make a difference for our planet is to help our companies thrive and carve out space for innovation. This leads to our next shift from incremental innovation to disruptive innovation. I love this quote by Bill Gates that us humans always overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in 10 years. So here's an example of incremental innovation and disruptive innovation. Incremental innovation is doing the same things better, whereas disruptive innovation is make the old things obsolete. So here's an example of incremental innovation. Nokia, the best phone that Nokia made in 2007 was this phone. And at the same time, the best phone that Apple introduced in 2007 was this phone, where Apple was not in the phone business. They took their iPod, the music device, the internet, and a phone, and combined it into one and launched this device. And everyone felt like, wow, this is transformative, but because they were able to provide disruptive innovation. So incremental innovation and disruptive innovation. So Apple didn't provide a disruptive innovation only as a product. They were able to transform experiences from what it looked like in 2007. They remember buying a phone from a shop like that, to then what Apple provided with this full end-to-end experience where it was an immersive experience. So Apple didn't just reinvent the phone, they reinvented the buying experience. And I don't think Apple would have been successful if they sold the iPhone the old-fashioned way versus providing these new experiences. So what does that mean? That means that we are typically in a path where new technology at first has lots of buzz, lots of excitement, and you go through a period of major disappointment. And then you have this iPhone moment that happens, that someone improves and disrupts the innovation curve, and that technology driving adoption. And then you have this exponential curve that takes off. So we really have to think about that. We are here now, and we have to think about AI. We have to think about genomics. We have to think about blockchain, metaverse, NFT, self-driving cars, artificial intelligence, the space exploration, or virtual reality. That is our future. The next trend I want to talk to you about is the shift from the great resignation to this great retention. Underlying all of this is our people. And that is who is making all of this happen. So rather than take the time to investigate the true causes of this attrition or this great resignation or the big quit, I think I've heard all of those phrases mentioned, many companies are jumping into well-known quick fixes. For example, many companies are bumping up their pay or financial perks or stock options, or they're offering thank you bonuses without making an effort to strengthen the relationship or ties that they have with their workforce and their people. As a result, rather than sensing appreciation, employees are seeing a transaction happening with their corporations. So we are seeing a birth of this YOLO economy, the you only live once economy. And it takes us from this great resignation to the great retention of our people, and the great reshuffle will force companies to align to purpose of their employees and to retain talent. I'm really hopeful that in 2022, our digital-first work will break the 9-to-5 mundane workday and become much more focused on companies rethinking when, not just where, the work happens. Everyone has been languishing during this pandemic, I know I have, because we don't interact with humans. So the renewed inspiration is going to be so important for us to bring back what the future of work is going to look like. LinkedIn analyzed data and the user base and showed that 54% of all LinkedIn users, so think about that, that's a lot of workforce that's on LinkedIn, have changed their jobs in the past year. Break this down, 80% of them were Gen Zers, 51% of them were millennials, and 31% of them were Gen Xers like me, and only 5% of them were baby boomers. And people are looking for purpose and assessing what is important to them. People are looking for authenticity in the workplace. This is something that requires psychological safety. And psychological safety is also a requirement for innovative thinking and learning from failure. When 85% of the executives say that they can live their purpose at work, but only 15% of the junior staff say the same, we are not creating workspaces where younger generations feel that they're living their YOLO economy. So skills are changing, and we need different skills, and our people require us to train them on these different skills. We need not only IQ, intellectual quotient, or emotional quotient, your EQ, but also the adaptability quotient, or even the purpose quotient, which is going to be super important going forward for not only employees to develop, but our corporates to look for. And it's also not just a question of AI eliminating all our jobs, because AI is going to create new jobs of the future that will require those skill sets that I just mentioned, but rather AI will help us embrace these new types of adaptability quotient, purpose quotient, and emotional quotients that only humans have that we can differentiate over and above artificial intelligence. In this final section, we need to be the disruptor rather than the disrupted as organization and as people. And in order to do it, at KPMG, we've got some ideas for you on how to take your traditional organization and disrupt and innovate for the future. First, we need to think about splitting our organizations, either your front office, your middle office, or your back office organizations, into what I call the 70%, the 20%, and the 10%. So your 70% is your core, where your current business happens, which is what you have to deliver a year from now. But then your 20% is where what you're delivering 2 to 3 years from now. And then your 10% becomes your disruptive, where you are thinking 3 to 5 years ahead. And unless you have that disruptive thinking, you're really not going to be able to disrupt yourself or innovate fast. So as you think about how we accomplish that, we take 500 concepts and we bring them down very quickly to 25 concepts in 3 months' time. And you start to develop a proof of concept as an innovation as a service, be it for NFT, blockchain, metaverse as a service, or your marketing or your finance services. And you're able to take those concepts and turn them into minimal viable products and your sustained services so that you are able to test these products into market and bring them to market. We have done this for the world's largest retailers, financial institutions, or telecom providers, for example. But also KPMG is engaged with our small, medium businesses who are looking for becoming fast followers of this innovation technologies, but they require blueprints, and we have published blueprints for them. In the end, I will say that all of this that I presented to you today requires us to have a growth mindset and not just a fixed mindset. So what do I mean by growth mindset? We need space to rethink our old assumptions and to unlearn a lot of those old assumptions, to relearn from our failures that we have had, to continuously challenge ourselves. And you can't just work as an engineer at a very innovative company to think that you have a growth mindset, by the way. You need to really think about relearning a lot of these new behaviors. And you need to surround yourself with people who challenge us to help us think like a scientist and not think like a cult leader. Thinking like a scientist means that you're constantly assessing your assumptions or your assumptions based on new data. So if you are not actively shaping this future, then it's going to happen to you. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. With the pandemic, 2040 has moved even closer, and we have accelerated digital adoption and made advancements in technology that will change our lives forever. And our KPMG's 20 predictions for the next 20 years paint a vision for our world and the impact technology will have on how we live, how we work, how we play, or how we shop. We have predicted a very optimistic future where people will live longer and have more productive lives. Our working lives will be transformed in pursuit of purpose and our passions. And the planet will be on its way to more sustainable, but also regenerative solutions will be formed. And advances in technology will provide more personalized experiences. This new innovation economy excites me a lot, but it's already upon us. And let's thrive in it together. Thank you so much.